Thank you very much. That's the problem. If you happen to turn up in time at a morning conference in Delhi, then you'll be caught. Even if your slot is later, you'll be caught to deliver the opening slot. I'm aware that I'm standing in for a very important personality at the moment, our former Army Chief, General J.J. Singh. I hope he walks in and listens to what I have to say, because I learned much from him in my career. And I do remember that, as Maruf just said, after I got back from the Royal College of Defence Studies, I had an interview with General J.J. because my report was put up to him, and I was, and he put it down in red ink on that he would like to see me. And I remember going up to him and he asked me, "So what next? You had all the fun of London. What next?" I said, "Nothing like if you can send me to Kashmir." And he said, "I was hoping that you will say that." And that's exactly what happened, and that's how one landed up back in Baramulla after having been in Uri, gone to London, and then back to Baramulla. And that's the place which is in the news at the moment. My gratitude to you, Maruf, and your entire team for giving me this opportunity to speak at this very important conference. I shall not deliberate too long. I'll keep the TED format of not speaking more than 18 minutes. I know that some of India's real stakeholders in the security of our country are all present here, and I'm also aware that I'm speaking in very challenging times, considering of what is happening in Jammu and Kashmir, and dare I say, the whole thing shifting down to Punjab. The last 6 months, we have seen North Punjab wakening up, and we have seen yesterday with the evacuation of population from the border areas, you found after many, many years, you found firing actually taking place across the border in Punjab. I'm also aware that we are all meeting at such a juncture in the progress of our nation when we are all looking towards emerging as a leader among nations. It is this which is worrying our adversaries, for they know that India has the potential to be a world beater in every sphere. It is this which is sending shivers down many backs, although they very well know that we covet no one's territory and wish to dominate no nation. All we wish for is the well-being of our people and a chance to make continuing progress in the economic and social field to lift our teeming millions to a different status and quality of life. It is good to be realists, for although we covet nothing that impinges on others, there are enough detractors to prevent us from reaching our declared goals. Scanning the subjects and themes which are up for discussion today, I can only compliment the organizers. The theme given to me for this address is the securing of India against territorial challenges. On the face of it, it is simple to approach this subject with an idea that territorial challenges can be met by just ensuring that we have a strong set of armed forces that will secure our borders and prevent any ingress across them. That is the old world way of looking at territorial security. The modern world views it very differently. It looks at the entire spectrum of conflict and examines every domain of it to ensure the identification of all potential threats and measures to counter them. We need to reiterate that India exists in a complex security environment with turbulence on our west, north, and east. The entire West Asia is in turmoil, with a churning within Islam, and the effects of that have the potential of traveling to our vicinity in the immediate west. In fact, they already have to a very, very great measure. Pakistan has been our traditional adversary because of the dispute over Jammu and Kashmir, but that enmity has transformed into something bigger and more existential in nature. It has attempted to overcome conventional asymmetry through its nuclear program. It is, however, in such an unstable state that its nuclear assets remain under threat of the new paradigm of modern conflict. That's the fourth generation warrior. Pakistan uses fourth generation warriors as strategic assets to weaken India internally. Afghanistan too remains on the boil, and further north, the expanding arc of China's influence is resulting in what is called the new great game in Central Asia. China has problems with us in terms of territory and would like India to remain weak so that its potential to defend its territorial interests is always questionable. It wishes to dominate the Indian Ocean to secure her energy routes and deny us our security space, our strategic space. The threats to our borders and to the territory and coastline no doubt come from all these directions. It is not as if our adversaries will threaten only our borders to achieve their territorial ambitions. The entire strategy is to weaken the Indian nation to prevent it from achieving its true potential. This will ensure that the armed forces, the Central Armed Police Forces and the paramilitary forces who are responsible for the territorial security cannot be maintained at the optimum levels of operational efficiency. There are myriad ways of weakening a nation so that it does not achieve its true potential, but that is not within the scope for me to outline. Let me simply try and put together a few of my thoughts on how India's territories can be protected against the multiple threats that we face. By no means is this comprehensive, and it is more in the domain of picking and choosing what strikes and appeals most, based on the experience of having worked at different levels with all services, the police and the paramilitary forces. First is the recognition and understanding that we cannot be lone rangers in this networked world, this globalized world. We need strategic partners with whom we will have mutual support, diplomatically, economically, and technologically. Military cooperation is a byword these days, and many a time on the back of military diplomacy rides political diplomacy. While we maintain our strategic autonomy, the advancement we make with defense cooperation has no limits. It boosts the confidence of the armed forces and gives them a professional orientation towards best practices the world over. Second is the entire domain of technology. It is unfortunate that we have virtually shed transformation as a concept. Technology formed the core and probably the most significant part of transformation. It is not just about evolving of concepts in the technical domain, but the whole gamut of fast-track acquisition of technology and its absorption. It is necessary to create a technological culture and a scientific temper to ensure that. The Indian Navy's decision to technicalize the entire officer cadre and the decision to induct technically qualified officers into the fighting arms of the Indian Army have been some very good decisions. As we progress, we need more of this. I do think that the securing of territories, a physical need, cannot be done by the armed forces alone. The entire government is responsible for this. Today's world is all about hybrid warfare, and in hybrid warfare, the principle is very clear. You have to have a whole of the government approach. It is enabled if there is a conscious effort to enhance the strategic culture of the nation. I do not wish to discuss the definition of strategic culture, but suffice to say that if the populace, the educated populace, perceives the role of the people in the defense of India, the commitment will be far larger and the orientation far more correct. It is quite pathetic to see how poorly even the most educated are oriented towards this important role. Fortunately, the media is live, and there's a growing interest in the corporate and the academic world. This has to multiply faster if people are to be made conscious of the role played by different entities in the defense of territories of India. Human resources, apart from the paradigm of scientific and technological orientation, needs to be of a robust, motivated, and a patriotic variety. Witnessed how an entire state and its people are held today to ransom due to the sociological problem of narcotics and drugs in the state of Punjab. Besides traditional physical fitness, it is a robust mentality which affords effectiveness. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen, alongside their brothers in arms in the Central Armed Police Forces, need to feel motivated and committed to the nation. Unfortunately, the vulnerability of the youth and our inability to prevent its exploitation has led to the current problem. The training of those in uniform needs to be world-class. This domain is one of our greatest weaknesses. Referring only to the officer cadre, I dare say we need a new generation of people who are analysts, innovators, and thinkers, even at a very young age. The Kargil War was won by the sheer physical grit of the new generation. which has the potential of delivering intellectually, provided we allow them to do so. Before I even think of equipment, not technology but equipment, I find that infrastructure must take primacy. Most of our border areas are remote, rugged, and lack resources. In yesteryears, we did not have the means to develop the state-of-the-art infrastructure, leaving both the border people and the army to improvise as best as they could. The modernization of infrastructure involving roads, operational tracks, airfields, helipads, and habitat has now been given priority. But unless we have much more resources, the need to delivery gap will not be realized. No set of armed forces can thrive unless a progressive and ongoing modernization continues all the time. Modernization has many domains, but here I refer to the field of equipment. The Make in India campaign was a crying need, and its spirit and energy are most needed for long-term equipment and maintenance needs. The enthusiasm with which it commenced has to continue without losing steam. Every one of you is a stakeholder. Unfortunately, many are already writing it off as unachievable. Teething problems will occur, but staying the course is that much more important. Military hardware will be acquired for all services, but what continues to baffle is the isolation in which two of India's main ministries continue to function. Clubbing of resources, the security ministries I'm talking about, the clubbing of resources for procurement by both the ministries can surely get us far better deals. One of the most important domains of ensuring that no adversary considers it prudent to target our borders or any other part of our territory is the ability to project our power. For this, it is the information domain which comes into prominence. The nature of war today is hybrid, which essentially means that it combines many subdomains. Information is one of those major domains. We need to ensure that the world learns of our national will to secure ourselves. We may like to remember that for the security of our territories, while we have the three armed forces, we also have the backup of the Central Armed Police Forces and the paramilitary forces. In the world of comprehensive security, internal and external securities have virtually merged with intermingling of responsibility. We are fortunate that we have a strong set of police forces which look at border security and internal security. The best examples of interdependency and integration are Jammu and Kashmir and the Northeast. What is important is the emergence of a common security culture through more intermingling at institutions. I visit both the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy for Administration at Mussoorie and the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy at Hyderabad, and I find this is happening quite a bit. The armed forces also need to conduct many more such programs in which the police forces and other stakeholders must join and interact. Although I could still go on and on, I do think I need to peg my last bullet as the need for offensive spirit in our outlook. We cannot be seen to be a defensive nation, benign in outlook. These are the days of robust security outlook. Demonstrating our will to secure ourselves is important, and therefore it is equally important to understand and ascertain how this must be done. There is obviously a very urgent need to ensure the integration of diplomacy, military power, and technology, along with the right political messaging from time to time. Finally, I find the demonstration of such state-of-the-art equipment which you've all placed around here since yesterday, at this conference and many other conferences, I find that extremely useful for all of us. I wish we could acquire every bit of this equipment, especially the critical surveillance equipment, which is very, very dear to me. Yet, unless there is financial backing with adequate budgeting and prudent procedures, not beset with bureaucratic hassles, none of this equipment will ever make its way to the front lines or the field in the counterinsurgency areas. My appeal to the bureaucracy and all who control the purse strings, kindly place yourselves in the shoes of the soldiers, the airmen, the sailors, and the policemen. In your hands, too, lies the responsibility and the security of this nation. Jai Hind, and thank you once again.